Hello everyone, this is Sarah Felon playing a little Unreal Tournament. And I did some Doom, or at least Chex Quest. I did some Duke 3D. So after doing some epic Mega Games platformer, here's Unreal Tournament. If we're going chronologically, Quake came between Duke 3D and Unreal Tournament. But I never actually had Quake, barely played it, not too familiar with it, so Unreal Tournament it is. So we're flying around the level here. You'll notice this is a fully 3D engine, unlike Duke 3D and especially Doom. There are structures here you simply could not do in either of those engines, where you have things above other things. You know, the Z-coordinate is meaningful. Everything has a position in 3D space, not just 2D with some 3D kind of layered onto it as an afterthought. Yeah, this is a Domination map I'm flying around, and that's another thing that Unreal Tournament did that was an interesting change from earlier games. In Doom and Duke 3D, if you're doing multiplayer, you basically have a choice between cooperative, where you play through the levels cooperatively, or deathmatch, where you're trying to kill each other and whoever gets the most kills wins. Unreal Tournament, you have your classic deathmatch. You also have last man standing mode, where instead of kills winning, it's whoever survives the longest wins, and you have a certain number of lives. You have Domination mode, which this map is, where the kills don't really matter that much directly, but you have what are called control points. You touch one of those to take control of it for your team. Your team gets points by keeping the control of them, and it's a race to whichever team gets a certain score first. There's Assault mode, which is objective-based maps, which is very interesting. Basically, you have a team trying to get through a series of objectives while the other team tries to stop them. Then they switch off, and whoever does it faster wins. And there's my favorite, the Capture the Flag mode. I also have a number of other modes in here that are custom, and Unreal Tournament, very moddable. So I will go to a level that I made myself here, version 2 of Paradox River. We also have some mutators in effect. I have role-playing UT, which basically makes you stronger as you get kills, and Team Beacon, which highlights your teammates for convenience. So load this up. Just going to do a little tour of the map here. So coming to the bases are symmetrical. It's possible to have an asymmetrical Capture the Flag map, but it's hard to balance them properly. So here's the central core. You have your flag here on a platform that is just too high to jump onto. So if you want to get up to it, you come up these spiral stairs on the side. Neat little thing there. You have actual lighting effects, which is something the engine does. It can look pretty neat like this. For whatever reason, I thought it would be a neat idea to give each team a spawn point directly over the other team's flag. Yeah, not sure if that was a good idea or just weird. Looks like teleporters don't work when you're in fly around mode. Anyway, down to the side here, we have a little turret area. You get a sniper rifle, some ammo, a shot view out onto the center area where you can pick people off. You come back to the front. Main entrance, you have some armor there. Kind of a curved wall here, which is both to provide some cover and to cut off your sight lines to give you better game speed. Especially earlier on, if you have too much going on, that can slow down the game, so you want to cut off your line of sight. So that's a lot of part of the purpose of that. Come out in the central area here, we have kind of a fire and ice thing going off the two bases. You have a little river here, bridge going across, some cliff walls here. You can get up on top of this here. I have some sniper ammo lying around for anyone who wants it. You can also see out there is the skybox. I'll go a little more into that in a minute, but let's actually start the match. I have all sorts of weapons and supplies going around. Neat thing about Unreal Tournament and Unreal before it is that most weapons, I think all of them in Tournament, most in Unreal, have two different firing modes. So, okay, this is where your teleporter goes. It's a sniper target. Yeah, sniper nest up in the cliffside. There's my favorite, not exactly a weapon from the game, but the translocator. You shoot a disc out, you teleport to it with the alt fire. Here's the first blood. Someone killed someone. Anyway, as I was saying, most weapons have 2 firing modes, so even your starting gun here, you have an accurate but fairly slow primary fire, and a quicker but less accurate secondary fire. The sludge rifle here, you can shoot single shots or charge up to make one big one. And here comes the enemy. Yep. Okay. So the objective in Capture the Flag is to grab your enemy's flag, take it back to where your flag is to score a capture. If you're killed when you're carrying the flag, you drop it. I think that's customizable. You can have... I think there's an option to make it automatically return or something of that sort. Anyway. So, whatever it's set to, I think I have... Okay, capture one is 3, so whichever team captures the flag 3 times first wins. Yes, we have AI, obviously, and they're pretty good. They're not great, but they can hold their own. Especially if you set them to higher intelligence. They can also be fairly single-minded, as you saw there. They're kind of mindlessly following. There's a... If you're in the editor, you have to put down pathfinding nodes for the AI to be able to find their way around. They're just following that path fairly mindlessly to try to get to the flag and not paying too much attention to being shot at there. Like I said, they're pretty good, but they can be fairly simple-minded. Yeah. I was saying, bring up the console. Ghost is the thing. Ghost lets you fly beyond the edges of the level. Okay, down here is the skybox. So the way Sky works in Unreal Tournament anyway is you create a separate space and you put a thing in here that basically acts as a camera out of which the skybox in the main level looks. So if you want something to work as a sky or, you know, just kind of looks out into space thing, you set that to skybox. It kind of looks out of this as if the whole stage is a little miniature thing inside here. And that's how Sky works in Unreal Tournament. You can see that's the roof texture there. If I go up to the top of the stage, you can see the walls along the edge. Anyway, I think the way it worked in Doom at least is you would set a... Yeah, you would set... Is it walk to... Yes, walk back to normal. Yeah, you'd set a texture on a floor or ceiling, and there was a special property where it would kind of render it in a... yeah, so that kind of looked like a sky. It would not move and scroll with the rest of the level. It would kind of display as if it were off in the distance. But in Unreal Tournament, you make an actual 3D area which the level peeks out into. Yeah, one interesting side effect of the fully 3D thing is there are actually things that you can do in Duke 3D that you cannot do in Unreal Tournament. When I did the Duke 3D video, I mentioned that, you know, there's a level that's on some kind of space station. If you circle all the way around the outside and go back to where you started from, you're actually someplace different, and then have to circle all the way around again. Because the way they have the level geometry set up is there's 2 overlapping areas there. And the connections are just done so that they're, you know, you go all the way around, you get to the second place, you go all the way around again, you get back to the first one. In Duke 3D, you can create rooms on the map editor and just drag them over top of each other. And as long as the engine can tell which room you're going into from how you get to it, you can have multiple rooms occupying the same space, conceptually. Like an even better example, I think there was one map where there's a square outer corridor around a central room, and depending on which side of the corridor you go in from, there are 4 different central rooms that all have the same space in... They all occupy the same place, basically. If you try to do that in Unreal Tournament, well, think of like a sheet of cookie dough, and you have a cookie cutter. If you put the cookie cutter in, cut out a piece, you have a, you know, an opening in your dough sheet that's the shape of the cookie cutter. If you put the cookie cutter down there again, in the same place, you're not going to get a second hole. It's the same hole again. That's basically how the Unreal Tournament 3D engine works, is you have, conceptually, everything is solid, then you start subtracting pieces out of it. And that's how you get your, hollow places. So if you have two hollow things in the same spot, you just have one big hollow thing. If they overlap somewhat, but not completely, then the parts that aren't overlapping will be cut out. And you'll have kind of a merging of both shapes, but you won't have two separate things. It's just a space in space is a space. In any case, the reason this is called Paradox River, so you come into the river here. Use the translocator, move a little faster. If you come down to the edge of the river, see there's kind of a little waterfall here that could look a little cleaner than it does. You go through here, and we're on the other side of the river in the same central area. It just flows into itself, loops around forever. My original concept for the Paradox River thing, which I have another version of the map that does that more fully. So the idea it would go into a little cave system that you couldn't get to otherwise. It would have some extra supplies. But because I had decided to make a capture the flag map, it really didn't make much sense. I mean, if it were a Domination, Deathmatch, or especially Assault level, having something like that, you would actually have a reason to go there. In Capture the Flag, there's really isn't one. It's just out of the way and awkward. The ricocheting razor blades. Yeah, Unreal Tournament has a lot of fun and interesting weapons. You know, the razor blades that can ricochet off of things. You know, the pulse rifle, which can shoot single shots or a beam. You have the... I keep wanting to call this ASMR. I know that's not right. It's... I think it's called the shock rifle, but ASM something. Anyway, you can shoot either these energy balls or the instant hit beam. Hit scan beam, that's what it's called. Hit scan is... it hits whatever you're pointing at immediately. Weapons are either hit scan or they spawn projectiles which then fly across the map. Anyway, let's do a flag capture while we're here. And also demonstrate the impact hammer for fun. There. Yeah, your melee weapon in Unreal Tournament is actually pretty strong. It's a little awkward, but it's quite strong. Your secondary fire can deflect projectiles. I think it can also launch people away. Primary fire, you just hold down the button to charge up, and then either release to fire, or if you walk into someone, it fires automatically, and does a ton of damage. If you try to use the translocator while you're carrying the flag, you will drop it. If you miss the flag entirely, then you have to circle back around. Anyway. Notice there's a light sourcing effect from the flag itself. There. And telefragging is very much a thing. I think telefragging was a thing as early as Doom, but Unreal Tournament is the first game I know of that gives you a portable teleporter. In any case, as I mentioned, Unreal Tournament is highly moddable. It came with an editor, map editor, with the full register version. You get that, and you could just make your own maps. That has built-in, you can actually open up, look at the code for the weapons and other items. You can customize that, you can make your own stuff off of that. I think importing sound and graphics was just as simple as say, open this file, stick it in the level. And there you go. You have that as texture or sound effect or whatever available to use. Yeah, pathfinding for the top spawn does not work at all. So if an AI gets up there, they're kind of stuck being useless. Yeah, in any case, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Oh, right. If you're interested in this map or its predecessor, I've made those available on my website. There'll be a link in the description, so if you want to check them out, feel free. And next time, I think I will go into... Well, I mentioned Unreal Tournament is highly moddable. Some people took that to extremes, kind of like Chex Quest for Doom. So someone actually made something based on Thief the Dark Project, a full conversion of Unreal Tournament that makes you a... You can play as a thief or a guard to go around sneaking, stealing things, or trying to keep the other team from doing the same. So I'll do a bit of that next time. Hope to see you then. Just one more. Take this guy up before I cut it. There we go. Okay. See you next time.